Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Lindsay Kana and I work for Ving Direct. And at Ving, we are very passionate about helping family wineries increase their direct-to-consumer sales. So we provide education in the form of webinars, online boot camps, and virtual trainings. So today we have Felicia with Vintage Vine Marketing on. She's going to talk to you all about chatbots and how they can help your winery. Over to the right, you'll notice in your panel that you will have a questions box. So please type those questions that you have throughout the webinar into that box. And at the very end, we will circle back and answer all of your questions for you. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, Felicia. You should have something pop up and we will get started.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Wait for it.
Okay, it should be coming through now.
All right, I'll show my screen. All right, can you see my screen?
Perfect, yes.
All right, love it. Okay, so my name, oops, pushing buttons here. There we go. All right, so my name is Felicia Stitzel, and I am the owner and creator of Vintage Vine Marketing, Vintage Vine Marketing is a marketing agency that is designed to help smaller to medium-sized wineries with a very specific source in your social media, and that is why I have gotten into chatbots. So we're going to dig into what chatbots are, but a little history about me is I got into the wine industry about 5.5 years ago. I've been doing social media marketing for almost 10, but I have been kind of going in and out between the military section and the civilian section, and overall just been able to grow my experience throughout different platforms of social media marketing. And then I came into learning about chatbots, and I just fell in love with them. So now I'm going to share all that love with you guys. So Vintage Vine Marketing, that's me. So the questions we're going to be answering today is going to be, of course, the big ones that is on everybody's mind in the wine industry, and that is, of course, how can I increase my sales? And this is going to be a method and a way that you can be interacting and engaging with your customers, and also be able to increase your sales through using chatbots. Of course, being able to interact with your customers, everybody wants to make sure that they have their best customers' intent in mind. So with that, we want to make sure that you're giving your customers a really good experience. And then, of course, a custom experience, because everybody in the service industry knows that every customer wants to be a snowflake, and they want to have a very personalized experience. And then, of course, how can you reduce costs? Because cost and labor costs are really big things that weigh on a lot of wineries' minds these days, because cost of labor is so expensive. So we're going to be covering some is chatbots. Chatbots, in an elevator explanation, is a chatbot is a predetermined conversation that you can have with your customers to engage, entice, and sell to them, all while using a predetermined message. There are a lot of different platforms that you can use messenger bots. The one that I personally use is ManyChat. The reason why I use ManyChat is because it is the most converted chatbot program that's out there right now, because it integrates so well with all these different platforms. So it has the inside track working with Facebook and now, of course, Instagram. They're working on beta testing right now to do LinkedIn messages, to do WhatsApp app messages, and they're in the process of extending that out to Twitter messages and a lot of other social media platforms that we might not use in the United States, but are being used worldwide. So they started with the United States, and are moving out from there. So that's why I like ManyChat, because I can build it in one place and then being able to integrate it to anywhere that my customers really need. So a couple things that I wanted to kind of get you guys really thinking about is, the numbers in your marketing. So of course, 5 years ago, email marketing was one of the top tools that you could do for marketing to your customers and continuing your conversation. Well, in later, now that social media has taken over so much and has taken off, the use of email marketing, though still a very powerful tool in a lot of different industries, it's not the most powerful tool that's out there now. So some numbers that I really want you guys to start thinking about is, like, do you know what your open rate is for your email campaigns? And more importantly, what is your click-through rate? Because it's good that you're disseminating information through your emails, but do you know how far that dissemination of information is going to? Do you know how much it's converting to sales? So industry-wide, not wine industry, but across the industry section, the average open email rate is 24.8%. So those are some pretty small numbers in comparison to what it used to be, of course, many years ago. So then you fast forward to today, Facebook messengers and text messages send 6 billion texts a day, and that's just within the United States. So that means that the amount of information that's being disseminated through Messenger, through text messages, is huge, absolutely huge. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because the being able to disseminate information consistently through emails is good, but it's not always the fastest or the most effective method, because unless you're like me, who works on their computer all day, you're not checking your email 900 times a day. Whereas everybody checks their Facebook, they check their text messages hundreds of times a day. And actually, the average person, because we all have that phantom checking of your phone, even though you didn't have a notification and it didn't notify you that you've got something going on, you still check your phone, even though you know it didn't go off, you check it anyways. So the average person checks their cell phone at least 110 times a day.
Oh, Felicia, we can't hear you.
That is something that's absolutely huge, because you know that everybody sees those little bubbles pop up on their Facebook, Instagram, direct messages, and they are going to instantly check out what it is. So as you can see, messenger bots, they have an overwhelming number of open and click-through rates. So you seen some differences in the numbers yet? That to me is pretty exciting. So the reason why I love messenger bots is because you have the ability to have a constant conversation with your customers. And this is something that I take absolutely near and dear to me, is because it's important to have those conversations with your customers. It's important that you're able to make them feel special and individualized. That's that snowflake thing. They want to have a personalized experience with your winery and with your wines. They don't want to just be thrown in with the rest of anybody else. They want to feel special, and especially those who have, of course, all of your wine club members. Wine club members, they want to feel like the extra snowflake. They want to feel like the extinct snowflake, because they are the most rare. But of course, that is exactly the kind of customers that you want to be adhering to. Is the more that they feel special and individualized, and you can give that to them and give them that experience, they are going to not just be customers, but they're going to be returning customers. they're going to be loyal customers, and now you have created a customer that not only is loyal to you and your wine and your brand, but that now is a consistent influx of revenue from that one person because you gave them an extremely personalized and high quality customer service from the time that they walked into your tasting room to when your messenger bot followed up with them a few hours later, just telling them thank you for walking into your winery. So one of the things that I think is really important is also collecting information. We have all gone to wineries, or we know at our wineries that the way that you collect information is you've got an email sign-up list on a piece of paper taped to the tasting bar when people are doing tastings. And not everybody's going to give you their information, and sometimes, and we're all guilty of it, your tasting room attendants, they're not always asking for that information. And so now you are actually losing out on having people that you can follow up with and people who can become returning customers because the information was not gathered at the point of when they came in and visited you. So being able to try and follow up with them later is of course impossible because you have no way of contacting them. And this is why I think that chatbots, and not just chatbots, but being able to collect information in such a way that is easy, it's not invasive or creepy, but this is a way that you can collect information from somebody by putting out a scan code on your tasting room bar or a little tabletop tent. It's so simple for your customer to use because all they have to do is pull out their phone, they take a picture of the scan code on their Facebook, and it instantly pops up with a conversation. Now, it takes them literally seconds for them to give you their phone number, their email address. If you ask them where they're from, later you ask them what their favorite wines were. But it's not deferring from their actual experience at your winery because they're not sitting there filling out a piece of paper that's taking them time and is taking away from the learning that they're going to get from the tasting room attendant or from the winemaker or the owner or whoever is doing their tasting with them. They're not deferring from that experience. So they're actually getting the best of both worlds. And your tasting room attendants can spend more time giving them that personalized experience. Once again, not deferring from the experience, but you're now not losing out on customers. So this is why I get so excited about these because it's easy, it's smooth, it's fast for your customers, and it doesn't take any time away from you guys. So it's a really powerful tool. Another reason why I love chatbots is because of the man hours. These little bots are your absolute strongest tool because these are invisible employees that are working for you 24/7. They never have an off button and you don't have to pay them hourly. And that's what's so beautiful is that, I know working as a stay-at-home mom and owning a business and working with customers and setting up with different time zones and all the other things that, I have going on, and what I have going on, I know is a lot less than what a lot of winery owners that I know, because I actually asked a friend of mine when we were doing a wine tour, I was like, and he's a winemaker in Idaho. I was like, well, just in the wine industry, everybody talks about how the summer season is busy because you have, a higher influx of tourists that come in. You have you got to start prepping for the next season, and the harvest is busy. I was like, well, actually, do you ever have a down season? Because if you think about it, everything in the wine industry, I mean, there's a season for everything. And I know that there is actually no downtime. There's always something to be done. And especially with smaller wineries, they have 30 hats that they're wearing, and they literally do not have enough hours in their day to be able to give that incredibly in-depth, personalized experience and conversations with their customers. So now you're either way, time has to be taken from one place or another. in order to do that. And that's why I love bots, is because I use them in, of course, in my own business, and they're my little virtual assistant, because they are doing work for me that when I don't have the time to be able to answer every single message that comes in, I've got a bot that can answer a lot of questions, and when they get to a point where they can't answer it anymore, that's when I hop in the conversation. So I get pretty excited about these guys. So I wanted to show you the flow of the conversation on the back end. So over here, this is what's called the starting point. It's their first initial message that you get. And it's always good to start with an initial message of something that's really easy. It's like an introduction. You can say, thank you for joining us, or, tell us a little bit about yourself. Something very simple. Of course, it's like when you meet somebody for the first time. You want to be able to shake somebody's hand, tell them a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, whatever. Then you come down here, and it's always important that a chatbot, it's a conversation of yes and no questions. So here it's like they're telling you about some kind of information. Would you like to learn more? Why, yes, I would. Or if they say, no, I'm not interested, it will go down to another message down here. But I color coded all of these so you guys could see how much is going on behind each message and how powerful that is. So these little yellow boxes are what are called tag boxes. And these are amazing because when you are able to tag a person and what their interests are, what kind of information that they're wanting, all these different things, you can actually individualize audiences in order to have very specific conversations with only the people it's applicable to. So these guys are already labeling your customers in a categorized way from the very beginning. There's nobody because I remember as a marketing manager going through the email list and inputting it into MailChimp and having to try and figure out who was interested in what, because they did not have the clearest handwriting. And so instead of having to go back and do the work backwards, it's doing the work as it's happening. So these are your little tag boxes. These red ones down here, these are what's called a call to action. So it's giving them a call to action, and it's progressing throughout. They're also called rule boxes. So there was a customer in California that I was working with doing this, and they did a huge promotion. And when they were doing the promotion, they were really concerned about, well, if somebody takes advantage of this promotion, how do we know that they're not going to come back and take advantage of the promotion again? Because it was a really good promotion. Well, what's nice is that you have these red boxes and these blue boxes here that are actually rules. So if a person goes through this entire conversation in order to take advantage of, let's say, a promotion, they have to get all the way down to the end. Well, once they get down to the end, in order to receive said promotion, they are then tagged, and it says that if they try to go back through it again, they will receive a separate message saying, sorry, we see that you've already taken advantage of this. Come back next month, or check in with us later, whatever the case is. We were getting people to sign up for a monthly offer. And so we started that in May, and then so it was like, stay tuned for June's offer. So that way we knew that we would get people to come in for this promotion, but the winery did not have to worry about losing out on money for somebody taking advantage over and over and over again for the same promotion. So it's really a powerful tool, because now you don't have to worry about trying to figure out who had what and if they came in already or what the case is. So being able to just follow the flow of the conversation is just so amazing. And seeing it from the back end, I mean, you can kind of see how complicated on the back end, but when you actually are going through it, your customer is only seeing these yes and no questions. They're asking for information. It's very, very simple on their end. So going back to the tags, the reason why tagging, like I said, is so important is because you need to know your audiences and talking to applicable audiences. So let's say you have a scan code on your tasting room bar or in your on the tabletops or whatever. They scan through, and you get their name, where they're from, and their favorite wines. Let's say that their favorite wine was Reserve Malbec. Well, that Reserve Malbec only comes out every once in a blue moon, and so when they say that they like their Reserve Malbec, they can actually go through these. They will be tagged, and you can then, when the next Reserve Malbec comes out, you can send them a message, and on ManyChat that's called a broadcast. You can send a broadcast to anybody over the last however long it's been since you released the last one. You can send them a message saying, hey, we've got another Reserve Malbec coming out. We know that you loved our last one. We'd love to have you come back in and do another tasting and see if you like our new vintage. Something so simple like that, but now you already have a clientele base of people who you know like your wines, and very specific wines too. And so when you're doing we need to get rid of everything in the library, or you got to clear out the shelves for the next line, that's because you guys are bottling that week, whatever it is, you already have a clientele and a customer base based on what they already liked. And it's something that's so simple. So with the Vintage Vine program, I have what's called the ROI bot bottle system. And this bot bottle system, it runs Facebook messages, or it runs Facebook ads. It has a bots attached to it. And what I also give to all of my customers is that I have what's called a dashboard. So this is a screenshot of a dashboard of a winery I was working with in California who unfortunately was hit by the car fire last year. So very, very hard for them, and they weren't able to continue on with me because they had gotten hit so hard. But when we were running these promotions, it was nice because this dashboard updates every 15 seconds. And so instead of working with a marketing company that says, well, here's all the numbers, but we know you don't know what they mean, but here's the numbers and just trust us, what we're doing is working. Well, that doesn't work. And I know, I can't tell you how many wineries I've talked to who that's exactly what they don't want to hear. They want to understand the numbers. They want to understand exactly how much is, how much money are they spending? How much money are they making? What is their return? How many people are they reaching? And so that's why this dashboard is really awesome, because the wineries who I work with, they get access to this right off the bat. They can see how everything is working, what kind of money they're making in return, and I can sit down and explain with them, what everything is looking like, and then they can see and have access to this whenever they want. So that's just kind of a cool thing that I do. And I know that Ving Direct, they also have their own dashboard, which is awesome. So that is the end of my presentation. I also built a bot for this particular webinar. I've got a special that I will be doing for all the attendees of the webinar. And actually, if you click the URL that is going to be over in the chat section of the webinar, you'll actually be able to go through and experience the whole bot for yourself. Because I know that I can explain bots, but until you actually get a user experience, it's a lot easier to understand once you've actually gone through the whole experience. So now you've seen the back side, and then you can see the front side of it.
Awesome. Thank you, Felicia. I am going to send that link within the email because for some reason it's not letting me paste it into the chat. So I will, when I email the webinar out to all of you, I will send that code as well. We do have some questions, so I want to get those, have those addressed. So looking at the first steps, so what would the first steps be with installation? So I'm thinking this means, once they scan the code on the back end, or once they have a code, the winery has the code, on the back end, are they actually building those questions out?
So that's something that I build out all those questions.
Okay.
So I sit down with all the wineries and I ask them what their goals are. So for certain bots, I mean, a bot can be designed for anything. I've done it for getting more wine club members or doing promotions, collecting information, disseminating information, whatever. So it depends on what the goals are for the winery. The scan code that I was talking about earlier, but all the messages are built up by me, the whole on the back end, so they don't have to worry about trying to learn something new, because
Okay.
chatbots are kind of integrated and complicated.
Yeah.
So yeah, I build out all the questions, but I work with the wineries to figure out what their goals are. I send them a test demo so they can kind of go through it, and if they like what I've put on there, then that's awesome. We can run it. If they have any edits or anything, we can change those as well.
Perfect. Okay, here's another question. So you mentioned the scan code through Facebook. Is this only through Facebook, or are there other platforms? Can it go directly to their telephone by text?
There is a way that you can do the scan code to text, but that's through a different program, not through ManyChat. ManyChat is designed more for social media messages.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually are going to be redesigning the scan code from what it is right now, and in October they're changing it over to QWERTY codes, because they want to be able to integrate as many different applications as possible into ManyChat. So they're already staying ahead of what the going trends are and such. But the messages themselves will be coming through their Facebook or Instagram. And then when they could create other messaging platforms, when they release those, we can do it through those as well.
Perfect. Okay, and then how is the winery alerted to join the conversation?
So the conversation on your business page for all the wineries, you will actually see in your messenger inbox, you will see all the conversations that are happening. So this is not something that you're not privy to. I do always recommend to the wineries that when a chatbot is actually in the process of like doing conversation, or I had to talk with one of the wineries who I did a promotion bot through, is that they were trying to jump in and ask conversations to the customers. And that actually throws off the flow of the conversation. What I like doing is that I will build out a bot to answer as many questions or to get as much information from the customers as possible. But if they do have a follow-up question, there is a tag that I can put on the back end for the wineries, and that way they are notified if a customer has a specific conversation that the bot was not designed to answer. And so then they can jump in and they're notified on their phone or email right away saying that, hey, this person has a question, can you follow up with them?
Got it. Awesome. Okay, and then just one more. Oh, the flow of conversation diagram was a little small, so I think what I can do, if I can get that from you, Felicia, and email that out, just so it's clear, like as a PDF or something, that might be better for them to see.
Yeah, like that one, I was just trying to show the overall flow of the conversation, so you could kind of see how the whole thing looked. The message themselves, yeah, I can send you kind of what that looks like on the back end.
Perfect.
A little clearer.
All right, great. Okay, and those are all the questions. So thank you so much, Felicia, for filling us in on chatbots. It's really interesting. You know, I had some great takeaways for wineries, and just how you mentioned that one winery or one guest saying they love Malbec and then inviting them back to enjoy. It's really a way to drive more traffic to your tasting room, as well as increase wine sales, you know, depending on how you're using them. So it's really interesting. Yeah. Okay, so everyone, I will be emailing you the webinar and some other good things probably tomorrow morning. Thank you all for joining us, and have a wonderful day. Thanks, Felicia.
Thank you.